Hello, and welcome to Chaotic Harmony. I am your one and only host, Angela Schultz. Have you ever moved somewhere and get that feeling like it might be a bit sketchy? Then get walked in on while doing something very, personal? Well, I certainly have. And let me tell you, I am pretty goddamn sure the devil was wearing an amazing costume that just so happened to look like the little old lady I was renting an apartment from. In this episode, I will be sharing with you my first Christmas after my divorce, the miracles that did happen, the hell that we went through, and the green surprise I was given. Ugh, I remember that day like it was yesterday. Here I am, staring down at my hands, looking at the only cash I had to my name, and just felt like a piece of shit. Christmas was right around the corner, and all I had to spend on gifts from Christmas for my 4 children was a whopping $50. I couldn't even afford a tree. Or nice presents, obviously. It was the worst feeling on earth. The very thought of my children waking up on Christmas Day, getting all excited, and not even having anything to open up, honestly made me feel like a horrible mother. I had to think of something. I had to get creative. I needed to make sure my children had a good Christmas. Damn, these days one decent gift is more than $50. And here I am splitting $50 between 4 children. My babies did not deserve this. I just hoped they were going to have a great Christmas at their father's house, so I didn't have to feel so bad. And I didn't want to burden my best friend with all of my Christmas problems. She has always saved me in difficult times. I already felt like I owed her so much. My best friend was, and still is, my grandmother. She is the first person I want to call when something happens, either good or bad. The person I know I can talk to without any judgment. The person that has always had faith in me. She has always been a mother to me. Grandma called me one day in the middle of December and told me. She didn't ask me. She straight up told me she was coming over. She knew what was going on. I knew that she knew what was going on. She sounded on the phone call like she was on a mission that I couldn't stop. So I just said, okay, and I waited. Her van pulled up pretty quick, and my children ran to that glass door we had and helped open it for her with extreme excitement. She got the same greeting from my children she got every single time they saw her. Endless hugs. I love yous. I miss yous. And Grandma, guess what? From every single child, all at the same time. She would listen to each one of them and give them her undivided attention. It never once bothered her. It bothered me all the time, but it never once bothered her. She absorbed all that love they had to give. And after she made sure my children got all their hugs that day, she mentioned the word that no one should ever mention. Surprise. She had a surprise for them. The minute she brought that word up, the children instantly started yelling with excitement and were jumping up and down. She should have known by now not to tell the kids about a surprise, because when she does, they turn into completely different beings. I'm sure that goes for all kids, but mine especially. I looked at her after she said something about a surprise, and before I could even say anything, she told me it was for the kids and I needed to stop being stubborn. And did she know me? Okay, Grandma, fine. I threw my hands up in the air. I knew she was going to do something out of the kindness of her heart anyway. The thing is, as soon as I saw what the surprise was, I instantly regretted trying to stop her. My children's eyes lit up, as she pulled out this little tabletop Christmas tree and these little ornaments to go on it. She says, Christmas can come now. And I just stood there. I could not believe it. And then I hear, yeah, now that you have a tree, he knows you are ready. Grandma saved me once again. The children were putting Christmas ornaments on that tree as fast as they could. Grandma put her arms around me and said she had something for me and for our apartment. Damn, lady, what else do you got? The tree was already enough for me at this point because she knew I was going through a hard time. Grandma handed me this roll of what looked like wallpaper at first. I'm looking at it like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? And that's when she explained to me it was from a glass door. It was called privacy film. She told me she couldn't handle being home, knowing that my landlord from hell was walking up to my door and just looking through our door and watching us. I had never heard of privacy film, but I didn't wait another minute. I couldn't put that shit up on that door fast enough. And once it was on that door, I finally felt like I had just a little bit of privacy. This lady could not see through it. This was the best thing literally ever. Grandma, once again, was my lifesaver. No more having to deal with the landlord standing in front of that door watching us. Heaven. Grandma then handed me a small stack of papers while giving me what I like to call a shit grin. She researched and printed off all the laws that pertained to landlord and tenant rights. I took those papers and I put them on top of my dresser. I told her that I didn't want to stir up any more problems, even if my landlord was a pain in the ass. I just needed some time to come up with money for a different place with definitely a better landlord, so those papers could sit on that dresser and wait till I move. Then I would give them to the landlord. That way, maybe she could read them, and then the next tenants that come in don't have so much of a problem. At least that was my hope. It didn't take too long that day for the landlord to notice the privacy film on that door. She unlocked my door and walked right into my apartment like every other time and started bitching at me about the door being covered up and my children being loud. God forbid my children get excited about this tree. My grandma marched into my bedroom and came back with those papers she had just gave me. Oh, trust me, when I say my grandma exchanged words with my landlord, I should say more like Grandma made sure the landlord got her ass handed to her. The landlord tried to win this little bitch fest, but nobody wins against my grandma, even to this day, and she is in a nursing home. It didn't take too long for the landlord to walk out of my place. Grandma turned to me and said, "You need to get the hell out of here." Well, fucking duh. All of this was so overwhelming. I just wanted to hide in a corner and wait for time to pass and this nightmare to be over. But that's not how the real world works. So, suck it up, buttercup. No time for pity parties. I say that, but that doesn't mean I don't have pity parties. I'm a woman. Come on now. I can have pity parties. Christmas was now days away, and I had somehow managed to split that 50 and got my children gifts and the wrapping paper and tape. So yeah, you know they weren't good gifts. I had them all wrapped up and ready to go under our cute little Christmas tree on Christmas Eve. But I wasn't feeling as bad about our Christmas anymore. Now, I'm not sure if it was the little tree Grandma brought over or my grandma's little talk. She reminded me that Christmas was about more than just gifts, which I already knew. But when you're in that dark spot, you don't think like that, and you need someone to remind you. She said I needed to stop beating myself up over the gifts I couldn't get. and focus on doing something special with my children that didn't require any money. Grandma said that children tend to not remember any of the gifts they got when they were older. They would only remember the moments that we shared instead. I knew she was right because that's exactly how it is with me. Fuck, I don't remember what gifts I got when I was 3 years old, but I do remember those moments, those very few moments where my dad would stop everything he was doing and make his homemade hot cocoa, which, by the way, I miss dearly. And he would also make his famous sugar cookies every year. No one has that recipe, and I don't think they're ever going to get that recipe, but they are freaking good. I wanted my children to have more great memories than any materialistic things. Tony was spending Christmas up north with his children and even took a week off of work so he could get some quality time with his children. Now, I'm not going to lie, I was a little depressed about it. Not because he was spending time with his children. It was a fact that I wouldn't hear from him much because of the cell phone reception. I knew Tony's children only saw him every other weekend, so they needed that time with him. My heart and mind knew that. I just hated being alone. Some people love it. I didn't. Well, I am older now, and that has changed a little bit. But my children were going to be with their father that whole weekend too, so I was going to be completely alone. Oh, I whined about it. I certainly fucking did. I was even having the biggest pity party ever, to be frank. But I needed to get over it. Now, it's been 15 years now, and I am proud to say I'm over it. I was a bit immature at the time, and, well, wait. I'm not going to lie, I still am immature, so god damn it. But either way, I am over it. I felt so selfish getting upset over it, though. I hated the feeling like I was only thinking about myself and not about his children. I didn't want to be that person. Tony was an amazing father. Correction. He is an amazing father. At that time, I didn't see him in person with his children, but I saw him with mine. Not to mention, I could hear the love in his voice when he talked about his children. His face lit up when he was showing me a picture or a video of them. He was, and still is, the father that every child on this earth should have. And I'm not saying that because we are now married and have a child together. I'm saying this because he truly is an amazing father, and he never gives himself enough credit for it. Baby, you are a good father and husband. Now, the night that Tony planned to head up north, he called me and reassured me that he would try his best to call, and that I needed to understand that this was his time with his children, so he might not be able to leave the house to make that call. He wasn't ready to tell them about us yet, and Christmas was not the right time to do it, so I understood all of that. I truly did. I was still in poor me mode, so it took a little bit longer to register, but I believe my insecurities had stemmed from my past relationships. I'm just throwing that out there. Maybe even possibly some little daddy issues too. I'm not sure, because Lord knows I have those. Anyways, I was laying on the couch, watching TV. My children were sleeping, and I saw Tony's truck pull up. I wasn't expecting him, and as much as I was excited to see him before he left, I was confused. He could have told me he was coming. He gave me a nice, big kiss, then told me to hold my door open. Now I'm even more confused. Why am I holding this damn door open? I didn't need the landlord coming out, walking out with her moo-moo or whatever she was wearing, and starting shit. Tony came back to my door with gifts that were nicely wrapped, labeled, and had my children's names on them. The gifts were labeled from Santa. Ugh, my emotions took over. I'm looking at those gifts and I couldn't believe what I was looking at. Tony said something like he couldn't handle the idea of my children having so little. This man didn't need to do this. He had absolutely no obligation to my children whatsoever. And I didn't even ask him for help. He did this for my children. He didn't do this for me. Now, I already thought I hit the jackpot with him when I started dating him. And he accepted all my baggage. I already knew I was in love with Tony. But this was the day I knew for 1000% sure all I wanted to do was marry this man. But I had made hints, but either way. All he wanted in return was to know if the kids liked the gifts. Ugh. Just saying this right now honestly tugs at my heart. It was my Christmas miracle, and I didn't expect any of it. After Tony made me cry and saved my Christmas, he kissed me goodbye and went on his way to be Santa for his children. I called my grandma, my best friend, up and told her what Tony done for my children, and all she responded with was, "I told you he was a keeper." She wasn't wrong. I mean, most women are never wrong anyways. Just throwing that out there again. A day or so after Tony left, my children came back from their fathers, and it was officially our time to celebrate Christmas. I took Grandma's advice. I planned a pajama party with hot cocoa, Christmas movies, and a lot of stuffed animals. Watching those Christmas movies while snuggling up with my children was just what I needed. I soaked every second of that night up. I think I was just excited for Santa as the children, to be honest. I couldn't wait to see their cute little faces the next morning. I just needed to do what felt like mission impossible. Get their hinders to bed so Santa could come. Now, on a normal night, putting the children to bed was a challenge. So I knew this was going to be really difficult. I mean, come on, trying to calm down a whole bunch of kids that are very excited about Santa, this was not going to be easy. Not for the weak either. Now, my ringleader of my children, also known as my daughter Abigail, would get out of bed and come and tell me something like, the boys were doing this and blah, 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 and I would tell her not to worry about it. Or I'd walk her back to the room. This went on for some time. Then the ringleader would come up to me with questions either she came up with or the boys came up with. I did the same thing every time. Walked her back to her room and said good night. The last time my little ringleader came running up to me that night with another question about Santa, our very locked and very non-see-through, full of privacy film door was being opened, and our landlord walked in as if she did nothing wrong. My daughter immediately put her arms around my waist as we were both staring at the landlord. Now, my landlord was wearing a muumuu, and it was freaking see-through, so I could see she was wearing a goddamn diaper. Her head was covered in those pink overnight curlers that old ladies wear, and she smelled so bad. Like, lady, go change that freaking diaper. Your children need to go to sleep. Tomorrow's Christmas. Well, lady, you need to get the hell out of here right now. I don't even understand why you are not seeing how much you are breaking the goddamn law. Well, I have church in the morning. And then she walks herself out. I made sure to follow her to that door so she could hear me lock the door behind her. This woman was ruining our freaking Christmas spirit. I walked my daughter back to bed and told the kids they really needed to go to bed this time. They asked me if the mean lady was coming back. No, baby, she isn't. I left that room brokenhearted. They should have been excited when they were falling asleep. And now they are in their beds worried about Mrs. Grinch and if she's going to magically appear in our place again. It was heartbreaking. Once the children finally fell asleep, I got all the gifts out and ready for the morning. I decided to sleep in the living room that night so I could be awake when the children woke up and to make sure the goddamn landlord didn't come back in that night. Morning came fast, and the children couldn't contain their happiness. As they opened each gift they got even more excited. Even the tiny gifts that I got were loved. This all melted my heart. My children had a great Christmas at my place. And it wasn't just about the gifts, it was everything. And I couldn't be more grateful. After my ex-husband picked up our children, I cleaned up whatever mess was made, organized their gifts by their name under the tree, and laid down on the couch. I passed out while watching TV. And when I woke up from my nap, I was really missing Tony. Like, really missing him. His touch. His kiss. His smell. Oh, his everything. I got myself a little worked up just thinking about all that. So I did what most people would do, and I started to masturbate. Okay, now stop. No need for judgment here. Everyone does it. And if you are willing to say that you don't, you are lying to yourself and need to get some help. But without getting into any details, I was fully enjoying myself. I sure the fuck was. Until I got interrupted by my fucking landlord standing in the same goddamn room as I was, saying, "You need Jesus in your life. You should be embarrassed." Oh my God. I had no pants on, nothing. I mean, come on, I was masturbating. Lady, you need to get the fuck out of my apartment and stop unlocking my damn door and walking in here. That is what I freaking said to her. She threw some freaking Christmas church pamphlets she had in her hands at me, and as she stormed out of my apartment, she still had the balls to tell me I needed to remove that stuff on my door because she didn't like it as she was leaving. Lady, I will not be removing that privacy film, and why should I be embarrassed? I was doing what most sexual beings do. If anything, she should be embarrassed for her behavior throughout the entire time I was living there. Not to mention the fact that I felt like I had to hide in a goddamn closet just to masturbate. That's ridiculous. I shouldn't have to tell my children they can't play like children either, because the landlord will yell or come in. Come on now. This whole entire situation of living there was ridiculous. I should not have to live like this ever. No one should. I could not do this anymore. Having her unlock the goddamn apartment door and walk in on me while I'm pleasuring myself was my final fucking straw. I mean, think about it. Imagine doing that and someone randomly just walking in. What the hell would you do? You'd freak the fuck out, just like I did. I hated the fact that I was going to have to move again, but this wasn't the kind of environment I wanted. Can ya frickin' blame me? I didn't want to burden Tony with what was going on while he was with his children. I needed to wait. I wanted to wait. Because I wanted to see his face when I told him about this. I mean, how many people can honestly say, yeah? So I was masturbating. And when I opened my eyes, I was looking at my landlord standing there watching me. And then she threw some church pamphlets at me and told me I need to find Jesus. Come on, tell me how many. So yeah, I needed to see his reaction. I needed to see if I should go find Jesus. The day he came back from up north, he came to visit me. I was so happy to see him. I missed him like crazy, as you already know. And he had a gift for me. I didn't know what to say. He already knew I didn't have anything for him. And he just said, just freaking open it. When I opened it, I couldn't believe my eyes. I was looking at a brand new purse. Not just any purse. A Fox racing purse. It was cow print with a hot pink logo on it. I still have it, by the way. It's just a little broken up. And then he says, I thought since your purse got stolen, that happened on our first date, I would get you a new one. I don't think Tony to this day understands exactly what he did that day. I am not a girly girl to begin with, but I didn't have a purse due to mine being stolen and the lack of money I had to replace it. This purse that he got me was the first purse that was only going to be owned by me. And it was my style. He made me feel so special all over a goddamn purse. He told me he wasn't sure I was even going to like it. I didn't friggin' like it. I fucking loved it. He made a comment about that purse that was stolen being ugly as hell. And it was ugly as hell. He was correct. I will give him that win. He was correct. It was my mother's style. I got my mother's or my grandmother's hand-me-down purses. So they were never fucking cute. I mean, they did their job. They held what they needed to hold. But they just weren't me. This Fox Racing purse was totally me. And he did a really awesome job. Once again, I hit the fucking jackpot with this man. After thanking him over and over and over with this purse, I thought I would tell him about the visitor I had just a few days before. He was laughing so fucking hard. Honestly, I didn't even know if he can breathe at one point. He said he could picture it. I guess my gift to him was telling him about the landlord walking in on me while I was masturbating. After all that was said and done, I told him I couldn't live like this anymore. I needed actual privacy. Like the privacy window film wasn't working, the lock wasn't working. I needed to get the fuck out. Who knows if she was walking in on me while I was sleeping? What if she was walking in while I was sleeping and actually standing down and staring at me? That's freaking scary. I actually just came up like, that's freaking scary. But it wouldn't even surprise me one bit because of how she was. She had no boundaries. I don't even know if she knew what boundaries meant. I just needed to figure out at this point how I was going to get a new place while I was paying for the one I had. But once my tax return came, it didn't take long for my solution to appear. It took on... Oh, I was so excited. I kept on the down low because I didn't want the landlord to know what was going on. I needed to make sure she didn't know a goddamn thing about it. Because if she did, she might have possibly kicked me out. I looked for a little bit and then we ended up finding a place. Tony helped me out. It was amazing. We found a house, I should say, but I made it a home in the same town that Tony worked in. It was great because I had more job opportunities there for me. It was a freaking house, not an apartment. It was not connected to anything. And the school was close by. If you listened to my episode titled Your Kids Are Weird, you would know that I was previously homeless for a few hours because a place I thought I was going to be renting fell through. I wasn't going to have that happen to me again. That whole reason is why I met the landlord from hell. I learned my lesson. I made 100% sure I had the house and the house keys in my hand before I packed anything up or attempted to move. And once I did, I told the frickin' landlord from hell I was moving. We were on a month-to-month lease, so I wasn't violating any laws that were laid out. She got upset with me. Woman, make your goddamn mind up. You didn't want me there. You do want me there. Get the fuck up. Like, shut the fuck up. She was upset and rambling on and on. Just to hear her own voice, I am very positive on that. I tried holding all the anger I had just to make sure I did not lose my place because I needed to make it work until we got fully moved in. Then moving day came, and it could not come fast enough because that landlord, she was making the rest of these days hell, like usual. But the thing is, she cranked it up a notch or two. Tony and Grandma showed up like the last time I moved and helped me get everything out. I had the door propped open so we could just walk in and out with my boxes and my furniture. I didn't have a lot, so it wasn't going to take that long. The entire time we were loading boxes or moving furniture, the landlord would walk in and out of the freaking apartment or walk to us, with us outside, yelling, nonstop harassing us. We weren't doing anything wrong. And we made sure that we weren't doing anything wrong just in case, because we were on like a main street so people could see what was going on, and we just needed to make sure we were doing everything right. She even freaking made sure to walk with us and yell even more. We all tried so fucking hard to keep our mouths shut. I didn't want any more problems. And if we did this right, it wouldn't take long at all. I was walking outside with a box, and this old bitch took her fucking finger, hooked it onto the front of my tank top, flipped my tank top out with her finger, and proceeded to call me a hussy. Yeah, she did that. Tony started laughing, and Grandma, well, no, she was pissed. I laughed in my landlord's face. I didn't know what else to do because she doesn't seem to care or listen. We got everything loaded up, and you'd think she'd be done harassing us or just go and take a fucking nap. Lady, go take a nap. Nope. She was standing there by our vehicles. I asked her nicely to move so that we could just leave. She told us she was calling the police. Please fucking do. Listen here, old hag. You've been harassing me this whole fucking time, and it's been too long. And you just inappropriately touched me. I didn't do anything to her or her property. She was the one violating every law, not me. The police did in fact show up. My grandma decided she was going to take over and talk to them because I was getting pretty pissed. I was losing my temper. She told the cops that all about what the landlord was doing. And as my grandma was talking, I noticed the landlord changed her entire demeanor. And I mean, like, she was starting to act like a sweet, innocent old lady. Even her body posture changed, oh, I'm so... I could not believe what I was watching. I just wanted to get in Tony's truck and drive away. The cops stayed there per our request so that we could drive away without the landlord doing something stupid. I mean, honestly, the woman could have probably run in front of us or behind us, and I could see her doing that because she was that fucking nuts. We drove off and went on our way to hopefully a more peaceful and happy place. Once we made our way to my new place, I felt free. No more old ass landlord unlocking my door to yell at me for my music being loud even when it was on the lowest volume, or yelling at me when I was letting my children simply be children. I was on cloud fucking 9. Before Grandma left that day, she said she could sleep better now, knowing that I had a nicer place. I was going to hopefully sleep better too, Grandma. Seriously. Now I got as many boxes unloaded as I could, with help, obviously. And then I had to leave for work. I didn't want to go, but I needed the money to make sure I could pay for the place, and I didn't have a different job lined up yet. Tony and his friend told me not to worry about it. They would work on things. And I'm sitting here thinking, how the fuck did I get so lucky? I was about halfway into my work shift when I saw Tony walk into the gas station where I worked. He walked up to me and told me he had a surprise for me at the house. You couldn't tell this girl here you have a surprise. Just like my children, I will poke and I will prod for hints. Or, better yet, I'll get fucking answers. I need them. He caved in a tiny bit and said, "It's green. That's all I'm saying." What the fuck? That's like literally the worst hint you could ever give me. It's green. That's all I'm saying. My mind was racing. Tony ended up making the rest of my shift seem like an eternity. What the hell did he get that was green? I didn't understand. Once my shift was over, I drove as fast as I could to make my way home. I barely had my vehicle in park once I pulled it into the driveway. let alone turned it off. I ran into the house and I saw Tony standing there waiting for me. He walked me into the living room. Now, when I left for work earlier, the living room was empty. And now here I am standing in the living room that is now full of this huge, brand new entertainment center. A large couch, a love seat, and a recliner chair. That was my surprise. As I'm freaking out and showing him how excited I was, I went to sit on the recliner chair to check out how comfortable it was. I mean, I was hopping from everywhere. Tony sat down on the couch, and I looked around and I remembered he said my surprise was green. I was a bit confused. I didn't see anything green here. I mean, I was happy with don't get me wrong. Who the hell wouldn't be happy with that? But I was like, what the fuck is green? So I look at him like, Tony, you told me my hint was green. He goes, yeah, the furniture is green. Maybe I'm seeing things differently, but I thought for sure I was only seeing brown furniture. I looked around again just to make sure, and I happened to see a tag hanging from the couch that Tony was sitting on. I went over, I grabbed that tag, and I read it out loud. Mocha brown. And then Tony snaps with, well, I'm colorblind and it all looks green to me, as he laughs. I laugh my ass off. But in all honesty, I didn't give a shit what color any of the furniture was. I never had anything new. I had hand-me-downs, and they never matched. I mean, they never matched. I had a striped couch along with a plaid couch in the same fucking room, and it was all bad. This surprise was the absolute best. While we sat on that new furniture, I asked him if this was his way of moving in. He looked at me and said, no, I will not ever be moving in. He then said, but I will stay overnight, every single night. But I'm not moving in with you. Isn't that considered moving in? To me, yeah. Tony, to this day, will say he never lived with me at that goddamn house. He only stayed there every night. My new place was our true beginning. Whether he admits it or not, it truly was. I want to thank all of you for tuning in and listening to me share my story. Tune in weekly for new episodes. Now go out there today and embrace the weird and make normal feel boring. Bye.